What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Canicorn Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the Philadelphia Phillies' first spring training game against the Blue Jays, which went very well if you consider winning very well, but not very well if you like pitching.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about offense first because that was the shining star in all this. The Phillies put up 14 runs to beat the Blue Jays in a 14-3 game, and we had a lot of offensive production.
Yeah.
Dylan, if you want to take us away, who was your star today on offense?
My start today on offense, you're not going to like this, but it has to be Scott Kingery. Scott Kingery does this every spring. He looks like the next coming of state your favorite baseball player. But Kingery hit a home run today, which love to see that. Did he do anything else? I know he went 2 for 3. I'm just looking to see if he had another extra base hit. He did not. So he singled and homered. Love that from him. But yeah, that was my big offensive shining star. Who do you got?
Well, first, there's two things I got to say. Number one, I said we were talking about this earlier, and I said that Scott Kingery does this every spring, and then come regular season, he turns into a pumpkin. If you guys don't know what pumpkin alert means, it's like the Cinderella thing. Is that the movie, right, where they turn into a pumpkin at midnight? Well, his midnight is the regular season of baseball, and all of a sudden he just blows. But shout out Scott Kingery. I'm rooting for him, man. If he does it, he does it. The second thing is that you said compare him to your favorite baseball player, and the first guy to pop into my head was Kirby Snead. So maybe not your compare him to who you feel the best baseball player is, not your favorite. Mine is going to be Weston Wilson, who went 2 for 3 today with 4 RBIs, which is awesome. 4 RBI day for the big guy, and he had a home run too, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a home run in the first.
Yeah,
and he had a double.
Yeah, so great start for him. I'm rooting for him. He was awesome for us when he would come in the regular season. I don't think we played him enough to really get his feet under him, to be totally honest. And I don't really see him playing a lot again this year with who we have at the bat, and we have Marsh out there and we have Rojas out there. So fielding wise, I don't think he's going to see a lot of action. But yeah, man, rooting for him for sure.
Yeah. Outside of the two standouts, I want to shout out Johan Rojas, who we had mentioned. Kind of afraid that he's going to turn into that hitter that he did in the postseason last year, where he really struggled. He went 2 for 4 today, rather, with a single and a triple. Drove in 3, so love to see that from him early in the game. He made it a point to show everyone that he had worked on his offense in the offseason, and I think that showed quite well in this first spring training game.
Yeah, I agree, and he really showed that speed off today with that triple, man. He was flying. Definitely an athlete, as long as he gets that bat under him. And I'm not too worried about it, because if he doesn't have that bat, then we're going to have Whit Merrifield there to sort of take over. I think he played today too, didn't he?
Yeah, Whit played. He went 1 for 3.
Okay, so there you go. Other mentions. Cody Clemens, did we talk about him yet? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Was he 2 for 2? Am I right in saying that? Yeah. With a walk. So was he 1 for 2 with a walk, or was he 2 for 2 and then had a third at bat?
2 for 2, a single, and a double with a walk.
Okay, I was listening to the radio broadcast because I don't have the visual, so it's a little bit more difficult. But great game from him. He's somebody else who he's been around the block with the Phillies the past couple years. I'd love to see him make the transition up. It's just I don't know where he'd come in, to be honest.
Yeah. All right, you wanna jump into some pitching?
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, a lot of our pitchers did throw pretty well.
Yeah, it was just a couple guys got hit with a blow up, but
so I don't know how to say a lot of these names because they're guys that I'm not used to seeing. But one guy whose name I am unfortunately used to saying is Nick Nelson, who I don't even know if he's like a major league pitcher at this point.
Yeah, he's definitely, I think, a quad A guy that rides that line between being too good for AAA but struggles in the majors.
Yeah.
I don't know. Take away what you will with that. He did get through 2 full innings, but he gave up 4 runs with 5 hits,
Yeah.
walked one batter, and struck one out. But he's not a big strikeout guy. He usually gets a lot of ground balls. So I
Yeah,
think
and
maybe,
normally I like ground out pitchers. It's just, uh,
yeah, I think for first game of spring, a lot of guys are trying to come in hot. So he wasn't getting as many ground outs and
yeah,
led to some more line drives and fly balls. But
yeah. And I'll progress to my next low light, who was I'm not going to say his name right, Michael Mercado or Mercado or something like that. He threw .2 innings and he let up 3 earned runs. And the funny part about these being the first game is that his ERA is technically a 40.5, which
yeah,
is kind of hilarious. Obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously. Hopefully that'll go down because if it doesn't,
yeah,
then he will probably never see the professional baseball field again. But not great, not a great outing for him. I don't know anything about him. I don't know where he's from. I don't know if you do, but
no, I don't have much on him.
not a hot start. The other one, Colby Allard, who we
Yeah,
got from somewhere. He was a name. I
yeah,
remember being high on him. He
yeah.
started, didn't he, today?
Yeah, he started today, 2 innings, 2 hits, 3 runs, only 2 of them earned. Walked 2, but he did strike out 3 in 2 innings.
Yeah.
So I like that from him.
Like the
Uh,
strikeouts, hate the walks, but
yeah,
it'll happen.
yeah. I do want to shout out Dylan Covey and Andrew Bellotti, who
Yep.
were on the major league roster last year. Both of them pitched 1 inning each, allowed 0 runs. Covey had 2 hits. Oh, yeah, Covey had
Yeah.
2 hits, no earned runs, but he did allow 2 runs. With 1 walk, so not terrible.
Yeah.
And
Bilotti
then
was outstanding.
yeah, Bellotti, clean slate, 1 inning, no runs, didn't strike anyone out, but he's not a big strikeout guy.
Yeah, I'd like to see Bilotti do well. Honestly, I just like to see somebody in our pen do well because it's been a while since we've seen anybody other than
Yeah,
Alvarado do much of anything. I was hoping they'd throw Kirkring today. I really wanted to see him throw again.
yeah,
Um,
I'm really excited. I think he might throw the next game.
yeah, but yeah, outside of that, I mean, you had what 3 pitchers not throw very well, but you had 5 guys throw pretty good.
Yeah,
So I'll take that if I'm a baseball manager or something. It's funny because when you look at this, you don't think that this final score would be 14-13. Like when you look at the numbers, you'd
yeah,
think it'd be like maybe 7-8, like still high scoring. But 14-13 is absolutely insane. And
yeah,
there were only 3 errors in the whole game.
yeah. And going back to the Blue Jays, man, they kind of had the exact same tale with pitching. Like it was 2 guys got really blown up, but
Yeah,
outside of that, they had a lot of lockdown arms, and I think it's going to be kind of what you see a lot in these spring games is going to be you get a couple pitchers that get hit around, but then the rest are going to come in and lock that down.
yeah. And the Phillies played some starters. The Blue Jays played some stars. They played Bo Bichette, who is one of my high like MVP conversation bordering kind of guys for the AL, in my opinion. And then they played Justin Turner as well, who's pretty well known guy. He has some pop.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, as well as they played Espinal, who's their starting second baseman. They played
yep,
Jansen, who is their starting DH,
yep,
and they played Varsho, who starts in their outfield. Whereas we really only started Rojas is expected to start. We mentioned Merrifield kind of being that all around guy. He played, but really outside of that, everyone that started for us is looking like they're going to be bench bats or serve time in the minors
yeah,
and come up as needed.
yep, yeah. Sosa's one of those bench guys that used to get a lot of playing time, but with Merrifield coming, I can't see him getting what he used to. He had a great defensive game too. He made one really good play. I'm pretty sure that I saw. So good for the guys. Good for the backup crew going in, the bench mob, as I'll call them, to reference our days at Penn State Schuylkill.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, no, I think that it's nice to see some depth as far as they're able to hit um, in this circumstance, and especially like I feel like there's got to be some pressure for these guys coming out to a spring training game if you're not in the roster. More pressure than when you are in the roster almost because you're trying to show out to make it. Like this is it. Like this is make or break. Am I going to make the roster? Am I going to play in the minor leagues for probably the rest of the season? So
yeah, so I definitely think that offensive showing really shows that these guys are hungry to win. This is a team that everybody wants to be on. We've mentioned before how the vibes on this team are just unreal. And I think a lot of these young guys see that and want to be a part of it in the worst way possible. So they're doing everything they can to show that they should be there.
Yep. And the Phillies will play again tomorrow against the Yankees at Baycare. Um, at 1 o'clock. If anyone is trying to tune into that, if you don't have the channel to actually watch it on, which I believe is NBC Sports or NBC Sports Plus, one of those two, the radio station is 94.1 WIP, and you
UIP.
can listen to that on there. The announcers are very good. It's like you're in the stands, like they're describing everything. They're having some chit chat banter. Um, I listened to it today and it was outstanding. I didn't really feel like I missed a beat, so
Yeah,
check that out too.
Scott Fransky is arguably one of the best radio broadcasters in baseball. So you're definitely not missing any of the game by listening in versus watching. Yeah, and we got Aaron Nola on the bump tomorrow.
We
So
do,
I'm
so that's going to
excited
be exciting.
excited to see that. Stroman's pitching for the Yanks, so first game in pinstripes. So I think that'll be a good game.
Yeah, I agree, and I'd like to see them hopefully let Nola throw more than 2 innings. I'd like to see him go about four. We were talking about it earlier. Aaron Nola's probably the best 4 inning pitcher in baseball.
Yeah.
And then when we get to that 5 and 6, that's when the bad things happen. So I'd like to see him throw four, be comfortable in four, um, get that confidence up. Not after the last season, I know he was awesome in the playoffs, but if I were him, my confidence would still be a little wavery after putting up that what was like a 4.3 ERA for the regular season. So get his confidence back up, have him throw 4 innings, quality innings, and then I'd love to see Kingery tomorrow. I really want to see him throw again. He was awesome last year. So
You mean Kirkering?
or Kirkring, sorry, yeah, Kingery. Sorry, he's in my head. He's literally rent free in my brain. But yeah, Kirkring, I struggle because there was some questionableness in his performance with the pressure in the playoffs. But I'd love to see if we could put him into that closer role, if he'd be able to do it.
Yeah, I definitely could see that as a possibility. I think the pressure was kind of just he only came up did he come up in August or September? I feel like
Yeah, it was late. It was very late.
yeah. So he only had a handful of major league innings under his belt, and then coming into that big pressure spot. I think if we can kind of slowly bring him into that closer role this season, I do see him being a real possibility to hold that role down. I do like how they've been using Alvarado kind of as a wherever your highest leverage situation is, whether it be in the 6th inning or the 8th inning.
Yep.
Have him come in there and then have your regular guys come in as needed.
Yeah, and Philadelphia loves this kid. Like when he came in, everyone was kind of like, "Oh, who's this guy?" Like it's kind of cool. All the shots of like his dad up in the stands and
Oh,
like
yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And really, he came into a struggling bullpen with the Kimbrel situation once he started going downhill. The only reliable guy we had was Alvarado. I don't know what happened to Sir Anthony Dominguez last year. Like the dude went from probably the most dominant reliever in the league the year prior to outside of Josh Hader to I don't even know what he just couldn't pitch. So
Yeah. Yeah, I would really like to see him get back to that 2022 form. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but we just got to see what he's looking like in spring and the early part of the season.
yeah, it's definitely if he can throw like he did or even just close to what he did in 2022. I'm not saying he's going to be able to replicate it, but
Yeah, give me
if
like
he
85% of that 2022 and I'll be
yeah,
happy.
yeah, low 3 ERA, like 3.1, 3.2, somewhere in there would be awesome. And then if Kirkering can follow that up with a similar stat line and Alvarado has his normal season, then I think that they'll be in at least decent shape. It's Philadelphia. The bullpen's never going to be the strength of the team. That's just how they roll. But I think they'd be in a lot better situation if those three guys can pull it all together.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Any other folks you think we want to see more out of the spring training that you're excited to see more out of?
Um, Not particular. I do want to see how Bohm does this spring. Bohm's coming up. I think this was his first year of arbitration.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be hitting free agency in the upcoming future, and I would like to see if he can kind of dip into a little bit more power, see if he's someone that we want to keep around. Obviously, with all the daycare stuff, you love Bohm, but
Yeah.
Want to see him reciprocate that by upping his game a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think he has two ways to go about it. He can either drastically improve his defense or he can get a lot more power. Um, and based off of his build, I think that the power is the easiest for him to accomplish. He's a
I
massive guy. I don't know exactly how tall he is. Probably like what, 6'5", 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah, I want to say maybe 6'4".
Um, Crazy wingspan. He put on what, like 30 pounds of muscle last year.
Yeah,
If he can translate that into power at the plate, I think that they will have no problem re-signing him as long as. What do you think the mark is? 25 home runs over? Like he has to be over 25.
yeah. I don't know if I'd say over. I think if he's consistently above 20 in these
Okay,
next couple of years and can, I mean, he's a great bat to ball guy. I think if he can keep that in addition to that power, I think it's a no-brainer to keep
that's
him.
fair. Yeah, if he can
Plus,
keep the consistency and just get a
yeah,
little more.
yeah, and I don't think we have any highly touted infield prospects like that he would be keeping up. I think most of it's just pitching and outfield that we've got.
Yeah, and I mean, I know we talked about it a little bit when we were talking about third base, but there's not a drastic fall off from, the fifth or sixth best guy in the league at the plate to Bohm at the plate. So I can't see the Phillies trading him. I don't see him moving anywhere. So I think he'll be back, but I think it's just how much money he's going to be deserving of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the only other guy, and we already talked about him, was Rojas. I really want to see how he hits. I know he's an outstanding defender, but this team's built on runs. We're an offensive team. That's what it's built on. We are not a Diamondbacks team where we're going to be playing the field on you. We're not the Marlins. We're not trying to small ball you. We're trying to smack the crap out of the ball. And Rojas is definitely the anomaly on the team to that. I mean, Bohm a little bit, but he can still put it out there, and he still hits a lot. With Rojas, it was. I mean, I've never seen someone just go
So
so
cool.
horribly cold at the most crucial moment ever. Outside of, I guess, Castellanos did it too because he went over 27. But I just hope he can get it back together, hit the ball a little bit more, hit the ball with some more power. He put on a lot of muscle. I don't know if you saw that picture of him
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
cages. Dude is jacked now. I don't know what they're feeding these guys at Phillies training camp, but incoming PED test for Johan Rojas. But if he can get that power, it's just I feel like the Phillies built their team in a certain way, and Rojas isn't a subscription to that team, and it reminds me to like the A's when they did that Moneyball stint, and it was like if you don't play the team that he played, they're not gonna win the baseball games. And so at some point, it's almost like, are we going to be better off just sticking some guy out there who hits 30 home runs a game and can't field the ball because that's what that's what we're trying to do.
yeah. And I mean, realistically, it wouldn't be the worst thing to have Rojas come in late game for defensive substitution. We saw that work wonders with not Rojas, Edmundo Sosa coming in for Bohm late in games to play defense to kind of make sure nothing slipped by him. So I wouldn't be opposed to that, but I really want to see Rojas improve with the bat to stay in that lineup.
I do too because his fielding is so good that even if he can hit, I don't know, 265, I think I'd be like thrilled about. If he hit
Yeah.
250, I'd be like okay with it. Like, you know what I mean? If he's
Yeah.
250 or above, okay, I want him starting. If he's 265 ish or above, it's like this is awesome. Like, never trade this guy. This is perfect. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's about all I've got for guys. I'm on my watch list.
Yeah, that's all I got as well.
Alrighty, well then I guess we will close up the Phillies. I guess we're not. This isn't going to be Philly Friday, is it?
Nah, I'd just call it first Philly segment.
Yeah, so our first Philly segment, I guess we'll call it. Stay tuned for Philly Friday, which will be coming up potentially this Friday, potentially next Friday. And it kind of depends on how time works. I don't know if we're going to be ready / have enough content for this week, but stay tuned for that. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know if you guys are Phillies fans, if you enjoyed listening to the Phillies content, if you have any suggestions. Come Philly Friday. I'm going to try to keep doing that what do you call it, like the PowerPoint to screen share on here so that you guys can still have the visuals. This was just kind of decided to do today because it was the first spring training game. We were both excited, but let us know. And yeah, other than that, thanks for tuning in and go Phils.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Hope you had a great time.